we're going to evaluate all of these candidates, the ones that are already declared and the ones that might come, because there are certainly others who might run. We can't go over everything Adam Schiff in one video, but I did want to start just by jumping into one topic. So what is his approach to foreign policy? I'm not saying that that's necessarily the most important thing for a senator, but it is far more important for a senator than for a representative. They're involved in treaties and declarations of war and all that. So here's some historic information on Adam Schiff when it comes to these sorts of related topics. He voted yes on a landmark measure back under Trump to boost military spending over 2 years by 11%. He wasn't the only one, of course. Nancy Pelosi also voted for the bill and wrote positively about it, saying in our negotiations, congressional Democrats have been fighting for increases in funding for defense. Well, thank God we at last have a party pushing for more defense spending, because if the Democrats hadn't done it, we probably wouldn't even have a military right now. Schiff was a yes vote on more military spending when we already spent more on our military than the next count a number of countries behind us. He voted in favor of the US invasion of Iraq. Now, granted, a lot of Democrats did, but not all of them did. Barbara Lee, for instance, spoke out against that war. He was among the right-wing minority of House Democrats who sided with Bush and Cheney over the broad consensus of Middle East experts, international legal scholars, independent arms control analysts, and others who warned that an invasion of Iraq was unnecessary, illegal, and would be utterly disastrous, says a professor of politics at University of San Francisco. In hindsight, I think those experts were onto something. It was a disaster that he voted in favor of. By the way, in December of 2016, as President Obama was preparing to leave office, Schiff urged him to veto UN Security Council Resolution 2334. Schiff was among the lawmakers who couldn't stand the idea that Israel would be censured for violating international law with its settlement building in the occupied Palestinian territories. So he wanted Obama to, as one of his last actions as president, stop even just like the speaking out against Israeli settlements, which were illegal, which were devastating, that have resulted in many people needlessly losing their lives. Schiff couldn't stand the idea, not that they would be barred from doing it, but that they'd be criticized internationally for doing it. And this is just a brief sample of who Adam Schiff is. I'm not saying he's the most conservative Democrat in the House or anything like that. On some issues, he's not the worst, but he damn sure isn't the best. And I don't just mean among everyone in the House, I mean of the declared candidates right now. So I don't know what his odds are. I haven't seen any polls, but everybody should be ready, I think, to fight this thing so that we can get an actual progressive. Miranda, thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. And you can watch, ads that they put out and you can see like the small little things that he says he did, but you have to look when you're looking at a candidate at what they've voted for and what they've actually done for you. And when you put someone like Adam Schiff up against these other nominees like Katie Porter and Barbara Lee, look at their voting history, see who's actually voted in your favor and who's actually tried to put in the work for you, and not just, if the argument is who stood up against Trump, it's all of them. So, that's sort of like a baseline given. That's not enough.
Yeah. No, I think Katie Porter might have voted for Trump in 2020. Exactly. It's like, come on, that's a constant. It's important or whatever, but it's also among the easiest things for a Democrat to do. It's good, it's important, but like, how many years do we have to applaud you for doing it? In any event, as of right now, Katie Porter's running, Barbara Lee's running, importantly, Ro Khanna might run. And there is I'll just leave you with this, one last potential major twist that could come of this. And that is that, first of all, we don't know if Dianne Feinstein will be running for re-election again. She'd filed last year some initial paperwork, but that's not proof that she actually will. So we don't know, she might run, she might not. She might not finish her term. And if that were to happen, California Governor Gavin Newsom has said that he would appoint a black woman to fill the role, bearing in mind that, of course, right now there are no black women in the Senate since Kamala Harris resigned her seat to serve as vice president. So who would that be? I'm gonna guess, and I would love to be proven wrong, I'm gonna guess anyone other than Barbara Lee. I would assume they will desperately look for anyone else, and maybe they'll find someone who's good. Or maybe they'll find someone who their donors, and by they I mean Schiff and Newsom and Pelosi, they share a lot of the same people, would be much more comfortable with than Barbara Lee. And if they were to do that, then now it's sort of the incumbent running for re-election and it gets more institutional support and blah, 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 blah.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.